Postmates. Wait, Postmates truly is just food milk man.
Food milk man.
Think about it. Like, you know how some in some old houses you have the little like door in your kitchen, like near the pantry, where that's where you would put your used milk jugs. So that way then the milkman could come by, switch them out. If we had one of those little holes, that's where we could tell the DoorDash people to leave all of our food. Zach, I want one of those little doors.
Didn't you hate those little doors when you were house sitting?
Now I'm a fan.
Because you thought you called them Coraline doors.
That's also because the house was very haunted.
Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed. I am your host, Zach, and I know a lot about Doctor Who.
And I'm also your host, Cassie. And I didn't know a lot about Doctor Who, but now I do. I do
and what a
know
what a gift I've given you. Today we are looking at Series 6, Episode 4, The Doctor's Wife. We've met the Doctor's daughter. Now it's time to meet the Doctor's wife. Who, depending on where you're looking, is also the Doctor's daughter. Anyway, what might you, what are...
Oh, I get it, because Georgia Moffat.
Yes, exactly. What might you be expecting from the Doctor's wife, Cassie?
I don't know.
Well,
like, in my head, I'm like, oh, there's so many allusions to River Song and the Doctor being a thing. So there's a half-baked part of me that's like, could this be the episode that looks into that? But I have a comfortable feeling that it probably isn't.
Oh yeah, why is that? Why is that the feeling that you got?
Just because we already had a River Song episode this season.
Okay, I mean, I will say River Song features in several episodes this season.
Okay.
That the season is, I don't want to say about River Song, but there's a River Song. If River Song was given a season of Doctor Who, it's this one.
Okay.
Just to let you know that this episode was written by Neil Gaiman, who wrote Good Omens, and
Stardust, the Graveyard Book. You know, some Coraline, some of my
Sandman
favorites.
Yeah, and Neil Gaiman has also recently has some very strong allegations against him for sexual misconduct with women. Not necessarily like assault, but also just some general
a power dynamic.
Yeah,
that's,
some exploitation of the power dynamics for sure. And that's not what this show is about.
No, it is something though that we should call to attention.
Yeah,
as two people who once upon a time could both say Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite authors.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think it's safe to say, like, still an admirer of his work.
Like, the part that makes it tragic is that he's an incredibly gifted writer and also just happens to suck so much shit as a person.
Yeah.
I hope against hope that he make some form of apology, make some kind of recompense, and maybe we can move forward as a people, not necessarily supporting him anymore, but at least for those who have been wronged by him, that there is at least some form of some form of recompense, even if it's just a sincere public apology and then promptly disappearing. It just sucks. It does. But as we watch this episode, we will not. Obviously, we're probably not going to have to talk. We don't want to talk about that too much because this show's meant to be fun.
It is.
So we'll just say anything we talk about is about Neil Gaiman as a writer, not as a person. As a person, I think our stance is pretty mutual that fuck that guy.
It's something that I can say, and I'm choosing my words carefully. There is something to be said of separating the artist from their work. Mm-hmm. You know, case in point, it is hard to deny the cultural impact of somebody like a J.K. Rowling or a Neil Gaiman. That is to say, though, that we don't have to sit here and kiss the ground that they walk on.
Yeah,
In fact, I will walk the opposite direction.
Like part of like we as we were watching the episode, we will do our work of separating art from artists. We are also saying you don't need to support him in any way anymore. You don't need to keep buying any works of his. But anything you've already purchased, you can't go back and undo that. That's fine.
Buying used books from a bookstore, renting from a library, does nothing to positively impact the artist.
Yes. So in this case, we will. So
in this case, we inadvertently are still.
I can't make this episode be written by somebody else. Which is unfortunate.
We can't make Max give money to other people.
I mean, there is a part of me where Neil has publicly said he thinks a lot of the best parts of this episode were written by Moffat after he had turned in the script. So I'm going to say there, at least part of it is I can give some credit to Stephen Moffat instead of him. I don't know which parts,
particularly
obviously,
since we don't know. Yeah, we don't know the parts that he's referring to.
Yeah,
and also we're looking at it from the lens of the here and now, not lens of 2011.
This would have been. Yeah, this would have been shortly after my birthday, actually, May 14th, 2011.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Just, I feel like we've touched on it enough now. I hope our position on it is clear. But we'll talk a little bit about the episode itself, because before the recent revelations, we were quite excited for this episode because you and I are both fans of Neil Gaiman as a writer.
Yeah. I cannot deny that one of the things that made me want to be a writer and got me interested in writing, and specifically books that are transportive and really spirit you away, has a lot to do with the likes of Neil Gaiman. And, other authors, just to pat it out a little bit. Eva Ibbotson is another one. Aaron Morgenstern, Terry Pratchett. Like, there are other folks that are that were very influential for me as a kid. Edgar Allan Poe, that was a big one. That sad, miserable motherfucker.
What since you are a fan of his now, or were a fan of his, and you obviously know,
I can still say one of my favorite books is Stardust.
So no, keeping that in mind, and I also know that you've not finished Good Omens, but I know you've started reading it a couple of times.
Yeah.
What might you be expecting from a Doctor Who episode written by him?
I'm unsure, because the one thing that I really do admire in the written work is specifically how worlds are painted.
Okay.
And, the specificity of in Stardust, you have the city of Wall. Mm-hmm. Why is it called the city of Wall? Because there's a small town and there's a wall. It's as easy as that. And there's a certain sort of a je ne sais quoi, a broadness to the worlds that are being built and told and described to you, but they are not extensive. There is not chapters that are just describing a city. It's, a page broken down into several paragraphs of, here are some key things that you need to know, but here are just enough information for you, the reader, to fill in. I'm giving you the important stuff, but now it is your job to take away and to make that what you want of it. My thought is that an episode specifically written by our foe, Neil.
Written by today's author.
Yeah, today's author. Thank you.
You're talking about the city of Wall, so you think you might be expecting a very simplicity in the naming?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
There is something to be said of there is whimsy in simplicity.
Okay, Okay, I could take that, whimsy and simplicity. I think is a good way.
So if we are in an alien planet, which we might be, we haven't been to a different solar system, a different planet in a second.
Yeah. You're
asking me to do homework right now by unpacking English literature, my dude.
I was just trying to see if there was any
I just had the thought today in the car. Damn, I miss being smart.
What do you think you are now, Cassie?
Not smart.
You're a big dummy?
I'm an artiste.
You think is it mean? Did I make you stupid?
No, honest to God, it's my smartphone. I did think about getting a flip phone because I found one where you can still have Spotify on it, and I was like, oh shit, that's perfect. I can still plug it up to my car.
You just want to go back to a simpler time.
I really miss having my little
Your little what?
My little because I had one of the flippy phones. I had the keyboard that you would like slide up.
Wow.
What I think is ironic is that for several years I was in AP literature and all of those classes. I don't know how I did it because I have a very hard time thinking academically about writing. Always have. Still passed and did well enough on the test that I got college credit for it. Got my degree in theater where half of my classes were reading plays and then reading and talking and writing about them. Do I remember a single thing from that time? No. I just remember writing a paper about outcasts or something like that. I don't know. But I do think that an episode written by today's author, the author formerly known as Neil Gaiman.
He didn't lose his name. He just lost his dignity.
He might as well have. I don't know. Is this one of your favorites? Is this one that you think about?
This is one of my favorites, actually, which, again, huge bummer for me. It's actually it's one of those episodes that shows up on a lot of like best Doctor Who episodes ever lists.
Is it comparable to Blink?
In terms of popularity, yes.
Damn.
I don't want to, again, I'm trying not to spoil too much for you.
I suppose like the word I might be looking for is like a story that is very succinct.
I do think it's very self-contained. Like you don't really need to know much about Doctor Who beyond some of the basic premises.
Like what I can imagine will be the case is that the story itself is one that is strong enough that you could plug in different characters and still have it be a good story. The fact that the characters do happen to be from Doctor Who give it an edge because we have wibbly wobbly timey wimey on our side and a whimsical madman in the Doctor. Am I correct in saying that? That the story itself is one that is good on its own.
I would think so.
But the characters.
It's an episode that is good on its own, but is made better by knowing Doctor Who.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's an episode that it's good on its own, but it gets better the deeper into the weeds you are. So I have good news. You're about 66 episodes into the weeds with us right now.
Ugh.
I think we've dove enough into what you might be expecting. Let's get into the proper Cassie Professy here a little bit. I will preemptively tell you that if you don't get one of these questions right, there will be a Professy point that you can get after the episode's over. I'll ask you a question then as sort of a redemption point. But I don't want to ask it without you having already seen the episode. So there'll still be two questions, but you'll get a possible makeup point here at the end. This episode starts with the Doctor getting a surprise knock at the TARDIS door. Is it a friend, an enemy, or the male?
A friend, an enemy, or the male? I really like it being the male. That's so stupid.
This is the postman. Telegram for the Doctor.
Like, if you had said the milkman, too, I would, yes. It's milk.
So you're saying it's the mail? You think it's the mailman?
I think that's so silly.
All right.
I'm going to be... It's one of those things, and it's something that you can do moving forward. If there is an answer that I just think is silly, 9 times out of 10, I will pick it. Because even if I'm wrong...
You'll be happy that you'll be happy
I'm
having
still
a mental
like,
image.
oh, man, that's so funny, even still. Because then if I'm right, I am... elated.
It's a singing telegram for the Doctor. It's a barbershop quartet at the door.
It's a kissogram.
With it's a special Valentine song from his wife. That's how the episode starts.
Aww.
And then the second question is, this episode features the return of a prominent alien from the 10th Doctor's run. Any guesses as to what alien that might be?
No. What are even there are aliens in this show? What do you mean?
Yeah, they're aliens specifically from our last Doctor.
Is it specific to this last Doctor?
Yes, they came back multiple times for the last Doctor.
Multiple times?
Yes.
Cyberman. No. Dalek. No, you would tell me if it was a Dalek episode.
You think the Doctor's wife is a Dalek? Will you marry me?
You have made me the happiest.
You may now
Dalek.
exterminate the bride.
Dalek wife.
In sickness and in health, to have and to hold, to exterminate. You would make a good Dalek husband.
Your cup will never empty, for I will be your wine. With this candle, I will light your way in darkness. There we go. It just took me a minute. Bailey's not happy.
Daleks have no concept of matrimony.
Dalek has no concept of elegance. It's not Dalek, but
Okay.
This has been fun. Thank you. You said they only came back, or they were
They were a character they were an alien that came back multiple times for the 10th Doctor.
and did we see them before 10?
You'd have not seen them before 10, no.
Okay. So who then was a classic alien that then popped back for 10? The Centauran?
Oh, the Centaurans, the potatoes?
Yeah.
Okay. So you thinking the Centaur?
I'm thinking I'm going back through my little Doctor Who.
Specifically, aliens that would have come back multiple times for the 10th Doctor would be
The
obviously the
Jadoon,
Daleks and the Cybermen, the Jadoon, the
Centauran.
the Centaurans, the Ood.
So that's 5 options.
You got 5 options there.
Okay.
It's a pretty good spread. The Raxacoricophalopatorians.
Shut up! They're not real, Zach.
I guess they came back twice, but that was for the 9th Doctor, really.
Yeah, and you only brought that one up because you learned how to say the name.
What,
That is the only.
Raxacoricophalopatorian?
That's all I hear when you talk, Zach.
There's a reason I think the show only ever calls them Slovene from that point forward, even though that was just one family.
Can I ask why this alien has come back?
Because Neil Gaiman wanted to write an original creature, but it was too expensive, so they had to pull a costume out of the back. That is not a joke. That's the real reason they're in it.
That's amazing.
Neil Gaiman originally wrote an original alien for this episode, but then they went, hey, this episode's getting too expensive. Can we use an old costume instead? And he said, sure.
Okay, so I do know you said costume, so they are certainly one with a costume. Bad news for me, everyone we've listed is a costume, so that is not helpful. Thanks. Fuck. Okay. Of the 5, is one of them it?
Yes, of those 5, one of them is it.
Fuck. Okay. Is it one of my favorites?
I don't know.
Okay. So it is not Dalek. Can rule out Dalek.
I do. Exterminate.
Why did you not wash the dishes?
When we were walking on the beach, there was one set of footprints.
Shut up.
That's because I don't have feet.
There was one set of footprints, and there was not wheels because I knew how to hover.
There was one set of footprints that stopped when I exterminated you.
All right.
Gotta pick one.
I know. So I'm really going between Jadoon, Ood, or Centauran.
Okay.
Because I had a rare moment where my brain went, oh, it could be one of these. In my head, I'm thinking I did think Centauran first.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps that's the one that I should do because that would be.
You do have 2 oohs and an ah. Jadoon, Ood, and Centauran. Ooh, ah. This is how my brain works. I'm a little broken.
I like the idea of that just being the clip without you following it up afterwards. Sometimes you're funny, but then you try to talk. You talk yourself.
Sometimes you're funny, but then you start talking.
Yeah. Fuck. Okay. I'll say. Did I ask why they were here, why they were in the episode? You said it's because Neil wrote another more expensive alien race, and they said, "Ooh, let's use one of the costumes we already have."
I feel like that's as much as I can give you without giving the game away.
Well, because like truly, of the two, or of the four that I'm thinking of, two of them are cops. So if you said they're here on cop-like business.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't want to give it away.
Okay, because you also did say alien. Ood feels very alien.
That is true.
In the way that I feel like...
Neil would write.
Yes. I don't think that Neil would write Space Police. I'm going to say Ood.
All right. So, Cassie's prophecy today are that at the TARDIS is a knock at the door and it's the mailman. And then that today we will see the return of the Ood. And we'll find out together as we watch The Doctor's Wife. Today's episode of Who Is My Doctor is brought to you by Honey.
You like jazz?
And we are back from The Doctor's Wife.
You've got mail.
And he's also got a female.
And also, I was right on 2 counts.
You were right on both counts. You got 2 Cassie Prophecy points today. So I guess that means you don't really need my makeup question point. No.
I'm curious about what it is, though.
Too bad you were too correct. You don't get it now.
Wait.
You did too well. You don't get the treat
Wait.
now.
Please?
No.
I don't want the point. I just want to know what the
I'll
question
still give you the
is.
point if you get it. Can you guess who the voice of House was?
Okay, here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Is he sounded like the Gnome King from Return to Oz, which I was like, he could still be him. That actor died in 2011, and I went, it could still be him. He died of throat cancer, so I don't think it was him.
No, it could not be him. Yeah, I will tell you it as a prominent antagonist of the Doctor.
Oh, no. Prominent. Whoever the man that voices the Daleks.
Oh, so you think it's Nicholas Briggs?
I think that would be very funny. Because it did still do the brain scratchy that you caught a couple times.
Oh, I had a feeling you were going to like House. House is one of those like, oh, Cassie's going to like him.
One of my notes was just, House, oh my God.
You're going to say it again when I tell you who the voice actor is.
House, oh my God. Because then my other thought was like, wouldn't it be funny if it was the actor who played House? Which I'm blanking out on his name.
You're talking about Dr. House?
Yeah.
I'm blanking on his name too.
Fuck. It's not him. It would be funny and ironic.
It would be funny if it was him.
And
Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie is
Thank
Dr.
you.
House.
It's not Hugh.
Not Hugh Laurie, no.
A common antagonist of the Doctor, you say?
I'd say prominent more than common.
Like
a big name antagonist of the Doctor. I will say I do think I might have misdirected you a little bit with that instruction.
Yeah.
Because House is voiced by Michael Sheen.
Oh. Whoa, what?
Man who's
does it again. Every time I think, nah, I'm over it. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, Michael Sheen.
Antagonist of the Doctor, you cheeky fuck.
Yes, commonly seen on live streams, just trolling the fuck out of David Tennant.
They're besties. They're in love, Zach.
Yes, and also prominent actor in many Neil Gaiman projects, not Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen's fine, though. He's unproblematic.
Michael Sheen's House is very interesting.
I have thoughts now.
Because you're picturing him doing the line reading.
Well, yeah, and it's just anytime we go like, very good, Doctor. Oh.
You think I should mourn her? What's some D&D ass bullshit that
No.
so
Me having an existential crisis as in this D&D world where there's a voice I like and I just that's how I feel about Dalek. I just like the way Dalek sounds.
that's why they call him House, because when you see him, you got to kick your shoes off.
Don't want to make the inside of house dirtier.
So what'd you think about the episode overall, Cassie?
Episode interesting.
Okay.
I see what you were getting with the naming convention of like, oh, it's just very simple names. Yes.
Yep.
We have house. We have
Uncle, auntie, nephew.
Even like the only person that had an interesting name was Idris.
And even when the doctor takes her over, she goes by Sexy.
Yeah. Because even Idris, is it supposed to be like an anagram of TARDIS, but not because there's no T and no A?
I mean, it would be an anagram. Maybe evocative of the TARDIS. I don't know if that was. I'm certain that was part of it. There was like, the TARDIS, but not. I've never seen anyone specifically saying that, but that would make sense.
Because I needed to write it out, and I was like, it's almost there. It's coincidental, but
it's
maybe
evocative.
not on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you want me to say, Zach.
And interesting, like interesting in a good way, or interesting in like a.
It's just interesting. This isn't one that I would sit down and say, oh, here, sister of mine, let's watch an episode of Doctor Who. You would like this one because the story still has everything to do with
this isn't
Who.
This isn't Blink or Vincent levels of you don't need to know what's going on.
Yes.
Because a lot of it is like if you don't know, I feel like this is one you could sit down and get it.
But then to have to explain to somebody who doesn't know, yes, the TARDIS is and isn't a sentient being. What they're doing at the beginning to suck the soul out of a person to then replace it with another.
I do like that sort of taking what has always been like a subtextual understanding that the TARDIS is alive and just taking it extremely literally.
Yeah.
But the TARDIS is a person effectively
is an 11 dimension being.
Yeah, with thoughts and feelings and wants and needs and desires and both good and bad parts of them. I like that she refers to the Doctor as her thief.
Thief!
My thief!
I just like her screaming, thief!
Yes, I quite like this episode. I do
like that when she first learns to speak, she doesn't not sound like the Doctor. Just very erratic, squirrel-brained.
Especially in the beginning, they make it seem like she's still getting the hang of being a person.
Do fish even have fingers?
One of my favorite quotes is, "Tenses are difficult," because the TARDIS experiences time kind of all at once. So it's saying
I didn't even catch that. That's very good.
Yeah. So at the beginning, that she's saying, "Oh, you're sad. You're going to be sad. Are you sad yet? Tenses are difficult." It's something that akin to that. I really enjoy that moment. I think it was a really well thought out bit. I feel like maybe they take it a bridge too far with the fact that the TARDIS just really wants to kiss the Doctor a bunch when she first appears.
Kissing or biting, which is just like kissing, only there's a winner.
I heard that quote. I was like, that's one Cassie's gonna like.
Yeah, of course. I wrote it down. It's hilarious.
To your points again. Yes, this episode started with the Doctor getting a little cube that is a Time Lord emergency message from one called the Corsair, which I do just like that they all have to seem to have their own little like titles, and the Corsair is just a fun one because it's not one that.
The Corsair.
Yeah.
What is that a title for?
I believe it's a type of sailor.
Because all I was thinking of was Con Air, which is a type of hairspray.
Yeah, Corsair is a term for pirate.
Oh.
So they just had a pirate episode, and then this episode starts with a pirate.
Oh, Corsair.
I like that he says that he has to have the same tattoo across every regeneration, otherwise he doesn't feel like himself or herself.
Same.
That's an idea that's always like kind of. Like if I were writing Doctor Who, I wonder if I would want to lean into something like that, where even though a Time Lord would regenerate, do they keep something from the last regeneration just because they really want to?
I mean, we've seen it in the Doctor's like outfits, his proclivity towards his smart specs.
His brainy specs, his
Yeah.
coats. Yeah, there is definitely like, but I mean like something physically on their body. Like if you had a, like, if there's a Time Lord that would keep like
a signet ring or something.
Like not even that, like that would keep a tattoo like the Corsair had, or would keep like a scar like that was really important to one incarnation, and so the next incarnation feels like they have to keep it. This isn't to the Doctor specifically. I just think it's an interesting idea for a character that can fully shirk every cell off their body to be like, I'm keeping these for either because they feel like they want to or because they feel like they have to. I think that's a really interesting idea.
I mean, that could also go into like a past life theory of like if there was a version of you at some point that just was very keen on having a cool watch
or
and a beard, and now in this lifetime you also have a cool watch and a beard.
Or took a piece of sound equipment to the face and had a small scar above their eye.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say? I have several scars on my body.
Yeah. Who's to say if any of those didn't come from your past self?
Yeah, exactly.
Your past self.
Why did I have so many cysts when I was a child and now none as an adult? Not that I want any more. I'm so glad to not have been in surgery.
Because in your past life you were mauled by a lion, and therefore your
That's
body
what I used to tell people though about the one on my leg. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was attacked by a saber-toothed tiger." It's just something nonsense.
You went back into prehistoric times.
Yeah, well, because my mom was like, "Oh, you could say Wolverine." Ooh, and I went, "I'm 8."
And a Wolverine is less intimidating, and Hugh Jackman makes Wolverines are effectively just large badgers.
Yeah, and also I'm 8.
It's much more believable for you to be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger.
Exactly. You get it.
I like that one of the first things they do to get from the universe to the bubble on the outside of the universe is that he has to eject rooms from the TARDIS to effectively get enough propulsion.
Yeah.
The list.
Man, how many rooms did we lose?
The rooms that we specifically were told where he lost the swimming pool.
No.
The scullery and squash court 7. A lot of S words.
What's a scullery?
That's a good question. I don't know what a scullery.
Is that where you keep your bones?
I believe scullery is spelled with a C, not a K.
Is that where you keep
a
pets?
scullery is a room in a house traditionally used for washing dishes or other household chores.
Kitchen.
Yeah, so I guess it's if you have a dedicated room for washing things.
Could you imagine
how rich you would have to be to have a room just for cleaning stuff?
Just for washing dishes and laundry. I could close the door and pretend it doesn't exist. And you got rid of that. Ugh. And the pool. Another place I could wash dishes and laundry. Such a waste.
Apparently this episode was originally supposed to start in the TARDIS swimming pool before they ejected all of it.
Of course.
But then they were like, we don't have the money for that when we're building all the other sets for you, Neil.
Is it because they literally built a TARDIS junkyard?
Yeah, I think it's because they built the TARDIS junkyard. All the other sets too, like there's at least 3 different locations that they show on. What was that? The meteor that is house. Yeah. There's the outside. There's the room where they talk to house.
Anyways, because like the new rooms we see is like the hallway in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
The outside.
Yeah, we do
like
see
the outside junkyard, the second outside junkyard, and then inside with the little prison.
Yeah.
Their like main hovel.
Yeah, and then there's also it also has the room with the cupboard that has all the TARDIS emergency cubes in them.
Ah, yes.
All the mail they've stolen.
Yeah, all of the
Federal
white boxes.
crime.
Instead of a TARDIS having a black box, it's a white box.
Yeah, I do like that they first let you know how evil these people are because they committed the great crime of mail theft.
Well, they didn't read the mail though.
Yeah, the mail was screamed at them.
The milk just could have gotten delivered at their house and then they never did anything about it. Not like us.
Who reads paper mail anyway, or email, or any kind of mail for that matter?
Me, 20,000 emails in my inbox.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's come in handy.
I do like, I feel like also that motivation though, because nothing really pulls the Doctor out of the universe. He only ever winds up there accidentally. Like in when they went to Pete's world, it was an accident. This time it was what's going to force the Doctor to go to this location, and it's the idea that there are other Time Lords out there, and good ones at that, like the Corsair.
Yeah. I think for the Doctor, though, it felt more like burning curiosity of there shouldn't be others. Why is this here? Let's investigate.
I like that Amy calls out on it. She's like, you're like, when you meet them, you're going to have to tell them you killed the other ones. And he's like, yeah, but I'll explain why. They'll understand. Which there's two minds of me on this. There's one part of me that agrees with Amy that he's saying that because he wants to be forgiven. There's another part of me that's like, yeah, he's right. I think he'll understand that if you find like the half dozen Time Lords that are good, they'll all kind of agree. Yeah, they fucking sucked. Like, did you see their stupid outfits? Rassilon's got that big glove, points it at people, and they disappear. Stupid. Timothy Dalton looking ass motherfucker.
I did like that there was the argument between the Doctor and the TARDIS of who took who. And then her specifically saying, what makes you think I'd give you back?
Yeah, that was a fun one. I specifically like that he was like, yeah, I was looking for a TARDIS and you were unlocked. And she was like, yeah, because I unlocked my door.
Because I was looking for the only man mad enough to do this.
You were looking for a TARDIS. I was looking for a man.
It's just so it's so mute. It's a mute.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things that's always kind of been subtext of the show, and they just overtly make it text, and they do it in a way that I think is really interesting and engaging. And I really like it. I really like their dynamic, especially when the Doctor gets to go, finally, since we're talking with mouths, I get to say some stuff I've been meaning to say for a while. You don't always take me where I want to go.
I did like her retort a little bit later on in that conversation about how he, quote, talks and runs around and brings strays and brings home strays.
Referring to all the companions he's had throughout the many years.
Bringing home strays is so funny. Oh my God, that's how I should refer to all of my coworkers that become friends.
Is that you brought home a stray?
I brought home a stray.
But her response to that is that she always takes him where he needs to go, which I thought was a very self-congratulatory pat on the back to the writers of like, you're right, we don't always let the Doctor do what he wants to do, but we always do what the show needs us to do with him. Good job, me.
Pat. I like that while all of this was happening between the Doctor and Idris, Rory and Amy are having their own PT hellscape.
Yep, where they just keep looping through the same tunnels that seem to be in like some sort of hex form that also have hex forms on the walls and
the floors.
Sometimes the floor opens up into a big chasm.
I jump in. I jump in so fast.
I do wonder if they would have like jumped down where they would have landed. I mean, it probably would have died.
The pool.
House's first idea was, I would like a pool in me.
Yeah.
Corridors. I have corridors, but no pool? Unthinkable.
But no outlet for the corridors? Tut tut.
Yeah, and God, that was so messed up, though, when they're like, Amy and Rory are running around the halls, and Rory's just like a few feet behind Amy, so just a couple of times the door shuts on Rory.
Poor guy.
And then the TARDIS is like, well... Or not the TARDIS, it's more House. It's just like, well, I get to play with my food a little bit here, and starts to.
It's so fucked up.
It's unclear.
It's so hot.
It's unclear. Yikes! It's a little.
Hey, shh! Don't ask questions.
It's a little unclear if House is literally pushing a Rory forward in time to mess with Amy. Well, because, there's also the real Rory later who's doing just fine.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying, like, you were calling him like Aurora, Aurori.
Oh no, I was saying
Not
he's one Rory.
Rory.
Yeah, he's doing one
Rory
Rory.
A, Rory B.
Yeah, I took Rory A, and pushed him forward in time to the point where he was genuinely getting like kind of fucked up.
There were scribblings on the wall of kill Amy.
Kill Amy, die, hate Amy.
The
Kill
way,
all Amy's.
the way though that's the same sort of scribbling that would be on my notebooks as a very angry teen, just hate in my little composition book, but only on the backside, so that way the top
The
still
real
looked
question
okay.
is, where did he get multiple colored markers from? Because it was not just
In
like
his puffer jacket.
Yeah, it was like red and white and
Yeah.
black, and he just scribbled over them
Zach,
multiple times.
in his puffer. He's a nurse. Do you know what I learned? No, I won't name names. I'm gonna out somebody very close to me. She's also a nurse. This bitch pulls out 3 different pens, a Sharpie, a highlighter, a little like the same multi-tool pen I have for you. She pulls out one of those that she keeps on her at all times because she is she's an ICU nurse, so she just has different colored pens for literally every type of note she needs to make.
Yeah, I like that as this man
So
is.
realistically, Rory, also a nurse, he has those on his person at all times.
But he doesn't remember he has them until like 70 years of waiting when he's like, oh, right, I want Amy to die and I hate her and I've got pens in my pocket.
The funny part for you now to think about is if these are ballpoint pens, he had to go over those lines quite a number of times.
And quite a number of times for quite a number of words because they're all over the hallway.
I mean, he did say he waited another 2,000 or another 1,000 years. He's waited 2,000 years for her.
Well, the thing is, obviously I think that's part of the thing about it. I think it's just meant to fuck with Amy. I don't think it's real at all.
No.
Where he's like, I waited 2,000 years for you and you made me do it again. Because the thing is, before he could survive 2,000 years because he was made of plastic. This time he's just in a hallway.
The hallway's made of plastic.
But he is not. And so but I do like that when they did his makeup work for when he gets older, though, they specifically don't just like do his hair and give him a long beard. They like fuck with his nose a little bit. So
Well, yeah, because that's a part of your body that never stops growing.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that I don't think I feel like lesser makeup artists wouldn't have done that.
So we're congratulating the makeup artists for this episode.
Yeah, for doing their job really well on them.
Yeah, because we didn't even touch or talk about the like prostheses on auntie and uncle.
You're so right. We should talk about that.
Because that was such a cool little thing that we just glossed right over.
The like patchwork people,
yes,
auntie and uncle.
Because uncle has like a different like alien ear, and one of his arms is longer than the other, and he's got
2 left feet.
I mean, that's just the actor wearing two different shoes. That's not that cool. But the different like hands that they both have, and
yeah, that especially for auntie who has one arm of a big strong man.
she has the arm of the Corsair. Yeah.
And I like that they don't show it to you right away. When you first see her doing things, she's doing it with her right hand, so it's which is like just a dainty feminine hand. And then one day she like one moment
we
she's
watched
like,
this episode for so
one moment she like
weeks.
touches Amy's face, and that's when you really get to see that she's got one hand that's way bigger than the other.
Well, because they do. Granted, some of it is through the costume work too, which also like I love a costume that is just messy.
And these are the messiest costumes.
Oh my god!
Except for Idris, who's just dressed like an 18th century bar maiden for some reason.
I love it. Well, just that sort of like very pieced together. Like, what's the queen in Elmo and Grouchland?
Isn't she just like the trash queen or something like that?
Something. I mean, but you get the vibes. You understand.
Yeah.
That bitch. Just that sort of that very like
it's just the queen of trash.
Same. I use the word derelict specifically because you've never seen it, but in Zoolander, the very last like fashion show is it's all about trash, and it's everybody wearing trash, like it's high fashion, and the collection is called Derelict. But that sort of like pieced together trash, odds and ends, just, different layers. That is my favorite thing a costumer can ever do is layers. And Auntie and Uncle have those layers to help conceal some of their little like mismatched body parts. But it's done so in a way where it doesn't appear very obvious until your attention is specifically called to it. And you're like, oh, has that been like that the whole time?
And I like that, like, you get kind of some samples of it, like the way that Auntie doesn't walk quite right. She's like, she walks hobbled, but only like her right side is hobbled.
Well, both of them kind of.
Well, yeah, they both definitely do, but I think Auntie's is most pronounced.
Well, because then you can just chalk that up to being like, she's just a trash person.
Just like me. She's also the queen of trash.
Yeah. But it's really nice to see, though, that they also like blend into their background. I understand where most of the money for this episode went.
Yeah.
And it was in the fucking set deck.
Yeah. It's one of those where you totally understand why they had to be like, we have to make some changes here. We can't have everything we
like
want.
even the Ood being in it was like, that's fine. He can be here. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, the Ood kind of,
and they found a way to like really make him being there work with his orb linking into the frequency of the other males.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good touch. That I can't imagine that was in the original Alien because it's so specific to the Ood.
Well, I'm sure too it was a like, ooh, what if we do this thing? That feels like a Moffat idea.
Yeah.
Like, what if we do this thing instead so that way we can have this moment? But like, I was correct. This is a very cool looking world, very condensed.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of outward, like wide shots of the world that we're in. You just kind of get plunked or like you just get dropped right into the action.
Yeah.
And you don't have anybody walking around giving tours of like, this is it. It's just, you must meet House.
Yeah. And they
this
do,
is House.
And they explain that it is simple. Like you don't necessarily need tours because it's just 4 people and that place they live on.
Yeah, house.
Yeah.
There's a house. Entry, please.
Hello, I'm House. I've come to eat your TARDIS, Doctor. I drink your TARDIS. I drink it up.
Yeah, that's the pool he drunk. I don't really know how yummy it is.
It's if it would be if House was played by Daniel Day-Lewis instead of by Michael Sheen.
I'm so angry. It's Michael Sheen. I'm
Right?
elated, but I'm.
It's one of the situations where I was also kind of miffed that Simon Pegg had such like a throwaway role in Doctor Who. I'm like, God damn it!
I know.
We do because we're getting a little bit more of the TARDIS lore as it was. We're seeing the different hallways and being told about some of the different rooms. We find out that the TARDIS's password system,
Crimson, 11, Delight, Petrichor.
but it's not like letters or words. You have to think the thing.
Yeah.
Because the TARDIS can't speak and can't write. And so therefore it sort of makes sense that the only way it can communicate is through this thought.
Did we get clarification? I was just trying to write it down and remember. Are these like the TARDIS's favorite things?
I think it's just the password.
I like the idea though that the TARDIS is specifically very excited when they land in a place that is raining. She's just like, fuck yeah.
This is my favorite smell.
It's the smell of rain on concrete.
And there's red flags everywhere. My favorite color.
I mean, you say that anytime I drive by a house that has a purple door, I'm like, yes, best house. I also like her picking 11. No reason. I just really like the number 11.
Yeah, I really like that bit too. Makes you wonder if this current Doctor is her favorite Doctor, given that he's the 11th Doctor.
Or if she updates the password like for every Doctor.
So that anyone that puts it in always thinks they're the one that's the favorite.
Yeah. Well, because she says that she's saved and has backlogged 30 control panel rooms.
Yeah, but the Doctor's like, I've only changed the desktop like 12 times. I love that he calls it changing the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I also really like that when they finally, their solution is to get to another control room, so they have to go into 9 and 10's TARDIS control room.
Yeah.
I just got to feel that they managed to wheel that out and find a good use for it.
Wheel it out.
Well, so this episode was actually written originally to take place after Vincent and the Doctor. This is supposed to be like basically right after that. But because of how expensive it was, they went, can we move this to next season a little bit, please?
They went, we can't have 2 bangers back to back.
So they had they had to make some changes because if you remember at that point, Rory didn't exist.
Yeah.
He had erased himself from time. So when they came back and rewrote this episode, they had to add Rory back into it. And I'm really glad they did because I really think those hallway scenes are some of the best parts of the episode.
I do like that if you isolate those, you can expand upon that and have there are 2 very different like plots happening. And the Rory Amy subplot is so fucking scary.
Well, I think that also probably feeds into something that's I'm sure Amy is feeling it in a certain sense of just like, this man waited for me for 2,000 years. And I'm sure there's a part of her that's like self-conscious about that.
Well, because the episode opens with Amy and Rory having this moment where they're talking about how they saw the Doctor die, but that's 200 years in his future. But that is that's their current state.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot going through her right now.
Like an existential, not crisis necessarily, but like an existential quandary, perhaps.
Yeah, I would say that I would almost certainly believe that Amy is in that moment dealing with the fact that Rory waited 2,000 years for her and she doesn't think she's worth that.
Or that she may or may not do the same for him.
Yeah, or that she's worried he resents her and it just isn't saying that. Like there's a lot of things that could be fed into from that I really like. That are good. It's a good way to address it without making like a whole like plot out of it, you know, where they can just sort of address how she's feeling. But then they get to that old control room and the TARDIS that they build in the junkyard. The doctor and his TARDIS build another TARDIS in the junkyard.
Her name, you can call her by her name, Zach.
I think you call me sexy. Only when we're alone. Well, we are alone. Oh, right. I love that whole like back and forth. Oh God, it's such a good episode.
It's a very you episode.
It is a very me episode. It's the very much the way that I think I talk in real life.
You know.
This honestly informs a lot about who I am as a person, I think.
Wait, am I Idris then?
You are pretty sexy, I'll give you that. I do like that when the Doctor introduces Amy and Rory to the TARDIS. He goes, she's a woman and she's the TARDIS. She's a woman and the TARDIS. And Amy's like, did you wish really hard?
Shut up, not like that.
Which brings us to a point. Despite the episode being called The Doctor's Wife, they never once call her that.
No, but there is the like assumption you can make that is how the Doctor cares for the TARDIS, especially now that he knows and has
now they've had a chance to speak.
Like face to the name.
Yeah, I also. They called it The Doctor's Wife specifically to do a misdirect regarding River because, like you had acknowledged, they had sort of set that up a couple of times. So
I fucking knew it.
Yeah, the episode was originally
I knew it.
The episode was originally called Bigger on the Inside, and I honestly like that name way more for this episode. But I do appreciate the like misdirect for The Doctor's Wife. I think that's a fun like. It's still true to the episode, but also is a fun way to like play with the audience expectations a little bit.
Well, it's also fun too because we have the privilege of being able to watch this on streaming. The thumbnail they use is specifically of Idris.
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, that was also why I was like, I'm not going to show you this thumbnail while we're doing the preview.
Oh, I see all.
I see all.
I know.
What are you, House?
No. But if I was, it'd be okay, right? Thank you for humoring me.
We'll get to the end of the episode where the Doctor has tricked House into dumping them back into the main console room. And I really enjoy this little beat where He's like, it doesn't matter to me what room you're in. I will kill you. I can kill you whatever room I like. Fear me, doctor. I've killed hundreds of Time Lords. And the doctor's like, fear me. I've killed all of them. I kind of wish the house went, hang on, what? Time out.
He just goes full Michael Sheen. Do you mean to tell me?
It just drops the deep part. And it's just Michael Sheen's actual voice.
Yeah.
Sorry, the fuck did you say?
I liked it, but it also made me so sad of Idris trying to figure out this word, this big word, but so sad.
And you had joked that the word was depression.
Yeah, big word. So sad. Well, there's a lot of letters in depression. The word is alive. Big word, so sad.
But it's only sad when it's over.
Which it is.
For her.
I like that the doctor says goodbye, but then she pops back up and says hello.
Yeah, she goes like, there's something I want to tell you, doctor. And the doctor's like, goodbye. He goes, no. Hello.
Aw. I peeped over. I saw you crying.
Of course, it's so sweet. It's so sweet. And it's also just one of those like perfectly executed moments. Like,
hey, have you ever thought about the parallels between the doctor and Plankton? And how Karen, his computer wife, is also the TARDIS.
All right, computer wife, let's go to another planet. That's not a good Plankton at all.
That was the worst Plankton. My God.
Apparently this season is marked by me doing terrible impressions. That's
Jeez
that's what this season of the
Louise.
podcast is marked by, is me doing awful impressions.
Redo.
Hang on, I know it's somewhere.
Because you started it off and then for like a split second it was Peppermint Larry. That is not
Karen.
correct.
Candy
Now it's Teddy.
Candy wife.
Stop.
Computer wife.
Just say Eugene Krabs.
Eugene Krabs.
There we go.
Eugene Krabs.
It's a little closer. This bit is
Correct.
nope.
Unfortunately, let's see how many more terrible impressions I get before the end of Series 6.
Jeez Louise. Everybody, place your bets. The only water in the forest is the river.
Oh, that's right. That is one of the last little like nuggets of mystery we were left on.
She told that to Rory.
Yeah, apparently kept repeating it. Rory at first goes, "Oh, she wants water," and then she's like, "No, you're delusional. There's no trees in here."
Fuck, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, or
I thought she like telepathically like
she kept whispering it to Rory, and Rory kept misunderstanding until the very end. The only water in the forest is the river, which is another one of those D&D ass bullshits.
Yeah.
one of those stupid mystery nuggets I would hand you.
Off.
But I will say near the end of this episode is one of my favorite quotes in all of Doctor Who, which is where
Bunk beds are cool.
Yeah, can we lose
bed with the ladder?
Yeah, because the bedrooms apparently all got ejected, so they have to make a new bedroom, and so. She goes, "Can we lose the bunk beds?" She's like, "What? No, bunk beds are cool. A bed with a ladder."
Yeah.
It's the specific way Matt Smith says it too.
You know the doctor has a loft bed. Because me, the human being who lives in a house, has had the thought several times, well, if Zach and I were to get a loft bed, we would have so much more room for activities.
I think it's pretty clear that he has a hammock, and his hammock is underside the TARDIS where he works on the wires.
No, the doctor has a loft bed so he can have a desk underneath his bed. I have had this thought so many times that if I got a different shut up. If I got a different desk, I could have storage and like a little spot for me to sleep up top and then have my little workspace down below. The downside is that I am just slightly taller than most children.
But only barely.
But only barely. I can't stand up underneath a loft bed without the height of my glorious body scraping the top of it. Because I'm 5'3".
Do you have any thoughts on the only water in the forest is the river?
No, I just keep on thinking about the fucking last time we saw the weeping angels and they were in the forest, and so now I'm like, fuck.
The only angels in the forest are in heaven.
The only angels in the forest are water? What?
Well, maybe we'll find out what that means on the next episode of Who Is My Doctor?
The only forest is the angels in the water?
The only doctor in the forest is the who?
If a bear shits in the wood, does it happen?
The only shit in the woods is the bears?
If a tree falls in the wood, does it?
What is the sound of one forest clapping?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed?
Indeed.
Well, this episode came out a little later than I meant for it to, but I've heard a handful of our audience say that they're behind, so hopefully these extra days helped you get a little more caught up. Yeah, let's go with that. If you'd like to get your episodes a little early, though, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/whoismydoctor, where we post episodes of this podcast early for as little as $1 a month. Special thanks go to our $5 patrons, Andrew Blewett and David Gansel. You can also find us on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, and Instagram at WimDpod. That's WIMDPOD. Next week, it's Attack of the Pancake Batter People as we watch The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People. So we'll see you on Tuesday, because your Tuesdays are now Who's Days.